Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on Zoom today. It's great to have you here with us. I'm Emily Whitehouse. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions here at the Yale School of Management in the MBA for Executives Admissions Office. I'm thrilled to be here with you with none other than our Director of Admissions, Mr. Keith Gallinelli. Keith, would you like to say a quick hello?
Yes, hello. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I am the Director of Admissions for our MBA for Executives program, and we're really excited. This is our summertime. We're excited to be welcoming our new class that's coming in just a few short weeks and starting to engage with people that might be in this position in exactly a year. So let's kick it off and we'll get right into it.
All right, that sounds great. So, everyone, our intention over the next 45 minutes or so is to really provide you with a high-level overview on the MBA for Executives program at Yale School of Management and share also some things that you might want to be thinking about and considering as you're making this decision. I know that many of you are starting to maybe think from a more high-level perspective, different options you might have. Perhaps you've been looking at a full-time program, perhaps you've been looking at some of the working professionals programs that are out there. So as you are kind of creating your personal short list and starting to narrow in on where you'd like to submit an application, there are a number of things to think about as you go and do that. So first of all, I want to show you this beautiful picture, which is inside the Sterling Memorial Library. It's the Star Reading Room there. It's such a beautiful space and really speaks to the beautiful history and tradition that is our institution, which is, of course, very storied in its past and its incredible way that it has just bred such a wonderful and incredible tradition of learning and education here in the Northeast. And while, of course, Yale is a very old institution, Yale School of Management is, of course, celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. So we're certainly not young either in terms of, considering business and its impact on society and the ways that we think about that. But this is our beautiful building, which is Evans Hall. This is one of the corridors on the second floor. And you can see a slightly different library space here where our students engage meaningfully within our institution and thinking more about what's next, thinking more in an innovative spirit about the coming challenges and how to best prepare themselves for that. So some things we'll talk about today include mission and how important and core it is to what it is that we do at the Yale School of Management, thinking about your personal alignment to pursuing business education at Yale, and thinking about your impact on the community and the ways in which you hope to, of course, gain an incredible education, but also to be a part of a really fantastic collaborative community. Of course, we'll talk through the calendar and the format, some of the more operational logistical things, as well as getting to campus, and then thinking through your preparedness for getting back into the classroom. For some, it may have been a little while, and so wanting to make sure that you've thought those pieces and parts through. Of course, no one is an island. There are many things to think about when we're thinking of different people in your life and the ways in which your decision to pursue your education will impact them, and also the ways in which you work within your world and your community. So we'll talk a little bit about stakeholder engagement. Of course, affording the program is something that you'll want to think long and hard about as well. So we want to get you thinking about those sorts of things. And then, of course, defining your personal return on investment. So without further ado, let's get into it with none other than, what I consider to be such a core piece of what it is that we do at the Yale School of Management. Our mission is one that really aligns us all, faculty, students, and staff. You ask anyone on campus, we all, will tell you that we are here for this mission, which is educating leaders for business and society. It's very core to everything we do and everything that we are. And so it's really important to think through as you elevate in the world of business and management, it's important to think about the impacts that you have. Of course, as you continue to grow in your career, you're going to have so many more things to think about, more people that rely and depend on you to lead with integrity. And so, of course, our mission is very core to that and really speaks to what it is that we are doing within this tradition of Yale, is educating leaders for what comes next and preparing those leaders to think these things through in a really robust way. And then, of course, as you're thinking about your own individual thought process around, who's the right candidate for this? Like, am I in the right position to do something like this? What we'll say kind of differentiates us from maybe full-time programs or ones that are meant for folks that are a bit more junior in their career path. We're looking for experienced leaders, so you have to have at minimum 7 years of full-time work experience before um, getting started with this program. And then, of course, we'll see within a resume your demonstrated clear career evolution. We'll have an opportunity to learn about the ways in which you've continued to grow and your impact. The scope of your work maybe is starting to shift in a more upward sort of trajectory. And so it will start to make sense to you that it's time to get back in the classroom and start learning some skills or brushing up on some skills to prepare yourself for what comes next. And then this program is really for folks who are seeking acceleration in their career, what comes next. Maybe you're looking at that C-suite, maybe you're there and wishing that you had these skills yesterday. Wherever you are in your journey, maybe you're also looking for access to an incredible network, a really wonderful faculty that's going to, help you to understand what's important to know right now, but also the community that we're building here, having access to what I like to think of as your personal board of directors, the people in your life that are going to help you to make those big decisions, and those big moves. And sometimes our students are so impressed by not just the incredible faculty, but the people that they get to spend their class weekends with as peers and as classmates. So then getting a little bit into our community, we're what we perceive as, a community of purpose and really a community on purpose. We do a lot to ensure that your time at Yale SOM really gives you the full experience of being a student of Yale. And it is such that you have a lot of great opportunities to connect with the broader home university, Yale University, as the whole entity. So not just being at Evans Hall, but really getting out and about in New Haven with your peers. And these are some great photos that really take you through both, how interconnected and engaged our students are. They're incredibly inspired by one another. They really are inspiring people individually, but then when you bring them all together collectively, that's kind of, to me, where the magic really happens. There's a great picture in the bottom left of Professor Barry Nailbuff. He is a real expert in negotiation. He's also founded successful business ventures, individually and with students at Yale in SOM. And this is a picture of him preparing for a slow jog up East Rock with some of our students. So they like to have fun and let their hair down as well as get serious. And the center picture is a photo of an alumni panel that was hosted in Jong Auditorium, which is a wonderful 300 plus seat amphitheater on our campus. And so our alums come back and share the ways in which they've continued to live that mission and to drive impact. And they share that with students. And it's just so incredibly inspiring. So I'd say that that's really what the core of our cohorts have been over these many years. But Keith, will you tell us a little more about the class of
Yeah.
2027?
Thank you, Emily. And I have to say, not everybody likes to put their hair down and let you know, some of us don't have any hair. But no, this is our class of 2027. So they're going to be moving into their second year this year. And every year we bring in a cohort of about 65 to 75 people that really span a very large range. We'll have people that is a minimum of 7 years of work experience, on average 16. We have had people that are in their 70s and even 80s as they finish the program as well. So it really does span a very, very large range. We have people that come from a lot of different industries. Many of them do have advanced degrees, and so we'll have people with PhDs, MDs, JDs, master's degrees. It's a very accomplished group of people, but usually what happens is they get to a point in their career where they're seeing gaps. They may have achieved technical excellence in their field, but now they're starting to think more strategically. They're starting to think more on the business side of things. They want to do projects, but how do they finance it? How do they fund it? And so we bring these people together and they really have an opportunity to build upon their skills that they already have and take their career to the next level. And I think, this is kind of in as a group, but we wanted to highlight a few of our individuals that have recently graduated from the program. So David's son, he He came to us from the insurance industry. He said it's a very traditional industry, but there's a lot of things that are changing in it right now. There's weather events, there's transitions in energy, cyber risks. And he's finding his customers are really demanding new types of coverage and more affordable prices. He's finding that AI is forcing their industry to really rethink how their business can be done and serve their customers, but also protect the insurance industry's interests. And so he's an actuary, very, very quantitatively minded, but found that he was missing some of those strategic skills, some of those business skills to help him take his career to the next level. And so he just graduated a few weeks ago. He really was telling me, I sat down with him right before he graduated, and he said that, the EMBA really helped him start thinking more big picture and strategically, and also give him exposure to business areas that he really had no experience before. And so he got a lot out of his experience. And I'm really happy to see his move on to his next steps, but we're also going to be sad to not see him on campus as much anymore. And I think Emily will share about Jasmine, who I
Um,
just saw on LinkedIn won her fourth Emmy award
so
for her work
cute.
with ABC News. That actually just happened about a week ago.
Yeah, so Jasmine is such an interesting story, right? She's, of course, a recent graduate of the class of 2026, along with David. And yes, now four-time Emmy award-winning producer of ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. And in her experience, really one of her reasons why she wanted to pursue her executive MBA at SOM, we've got some great community profiles on our site. If you haven't, definitely check some of those out. It really shows an incredible slate of, just a handful of our incredible students and their perspectives and their stories and really their why for doing this. And for her, she really was noticing, some major changes in the trade winds of the media industry, changing at such a rapid pace. And really, she wanted to know how, this legacy, media industry was going to deal with artificial intelligence and, thinking through AI and then navigating the shifting of different revenue streams and subscriptions and viewership. So she really came to SOM, as she's explained it to us, to gain a better understanding of the business behind journalism and obtaining really clear perspectives on how to sustain this important pillar of democracy in the future. So her decision for year two was really to have a lot of interplay among the elective options to really gain a really wonderful view of a lot of different areas to consider as a leader in business. So she really wanted broad perspective. So she's been taking classes such as macroeconomics, population health, climate policy, and law. Which is also, as a journalist, just such an interesting way of thinking about our content and really using that to benefit her career. And also, she expressed that in this time, she really kind of broke out of her comfort zone. She is such an expert in her industry, obviously, based on those many wins. But here she really came with a student's mindset, and she was really excited to dive in and allow herself to be transformed by this experience. And so, in breaking out of her comfort zone, she even took advantage of the Global Network Week experience, which we'll discuss a little bit more later. She traveled the Amazon River in Brazil during her Global Network Week. And then I'll send it back to you, Keith, to tell us a little more about your recent chats with Paul.
Yeah, so Paul graduated in May of 2025, and he took on a new role in October of last year as the head of financial intelligence, energy, and utilities at CBRE, which is a global real estate firm. And he was coming in every other weekend for the program from Salt Lake City, Utah. So a little bit farther away. He had a lot to navigate with the travel. Usually took him 10 to 12 hours to get to campus, but he wanted to be present and he wanted to be here really to get as much out of the program as he could. He also has three young children, and so it was a lot to navigate when you're thinking of a very, very busy career, also the travel, and then also with a family as well. But when I went out to Utah to visit him and meet some prospective students, and it was really interesting because he told me that all that he learned in the program, it started clicking with him, and he basically pitched a new idea to his company for a new business unit. And they loved it. And they said, great, well, we need you to head this up. And so he actually talked himself into a new job. And he wrote a really wonderful article for us that's up on our website. We'll share the link with you in the chat. But it was a great way of, how he utilized all of his classes to take that next step in his career. So this was somebody that really found that while he was in the program, he was able to apply his learning to his day-to-day work. And then soon after graduating, he basically built himself the next step in his career, big promotion. He was very, very happy with what he had gotten out of that. And I think that it was also the way that he approached the program, and we'll talk about this at the end about your return on investment. He really was very, very engaged and wanted to be part of this community to take everything out that he could and then put it back right into his career. And so with that, I wanted to get into very quickly. We're going to go through this relatively quickly because we do have other webinars that will go through the calendar and the format. But it is important to note that this isn't an in-person program. It does require that you do take trips to campus over the 22 months of the program. It kicks off every year in July with a 2-week residency. You're on campus every day for 2 weeks, living in a hotel with your classmates, and really just diving into those first classes. A lot of the first classes are going to be part of our core foundational classes that will get everybody up to speed. From there, in August, it will switch to an every other Friday, Saturday format. So every 2 weeks coming to campus, and you'll be taking classes with your classmates here in New Haven. In between years 1 and 2 in the summertime, there's a bit of a break, but you'll have that global week in June, another week of residency in July, and then back to that every other weekend format from Fridays and Saturdays until you graduate in May. Well, we do have, as mentioned, we do have people that are coming really in from all over the North America, really. Occasionally, we will have international students. It is a little trickier with some of the restrictions on the visa requirements, but we definitely have many international people that are from all over the world, primarily though based in the United States. But you could see these were some of our students are coming from in the last 2 years. It is very easy to get to New Haven. The Amtrak corridor between Boston and Washington, D.C. has regular train service. We have people driving in, and we have people flying in into the New York airports. Hartford has an airport, and New Haven has an airport as well that services a lot of locations, especially in the East Coast and Texas as well. So it is possible, to get it to campus relatively easily. However, we also do know that for some people, it can be challenging to get here every weekend. And so we do offer something called the extended classroom. We're really one of the few executive MBA programs that do this. It does give you the ability to be remote on occasion. This is really considered the exception rather than the rule. You do have to apply to the weekend that you're hoping to be remote, and we do limit it to a certain number of students. But if there is that one time that you know that you're just not able to physically be here, you have the ability to be remote. The expectation is, as you can see in the background of that picture, that you will be on camera and present. So it's not an asynchronous program. Everything is happening kind of in real time, and the professors are able to engage, and you're able to engage just like you would be in the classroom. But we do hear from all of our students. We actually just ran a number of focus groups with our current students, and they really do appreciate that the in classroom on campus experience for those class weekends, not just for connecting with the professors, but also for really building those strong relationships with their classmates as well. The weekends are very, very packed. All day Friday, really from 9 in the morning, going up until, really into the early evening. We have 2 classes on Friday, 2 classes on Saturday. We have colloquium speakers that will come in on Fridays. Our program team does a wonderful job to have sessions that connect you to the larger Yale community, usually on Friday evenings. So this could be maybe a hockey game at the stadium or going to one of the museums on campus. And also on Saturdays, in addition to the classes, we have extra classes that you can come. They're not required, but we bring in people from all across the university to kind of build upon the program. So one of them in particular is from the Yale School of Drama, which a drama coach comes in talking about executive voice and presence. So that's a workshop. So they are very packed days. One thing that sometimes students ask are like, hey, can I jump out of class real quick? I need to do a work meeting. The expectation is no, that you're going to be fully present for these classes. You're going to be investing a lot of time and money and effort into the program. And so you really want to make sure that you've started thinking about, we'll talk about this, about, connecting with those people in your life so that you can be present throughout the course of the program. And I think, Emily, you're going to walk through a little bit about what it looks like overall, and then we'll dive into some of the details. And then we're going to talk about things that you're going to want to consider as you take your next steps.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keith. And so on this next slide, I'll take you through kind of what the 22 months looks like from a curricular perspective briefly, be as brief as I can because it really is quite jam-packed. We can do a whole presentation just on this, I'm sure. But to start, this, of course, is it begins with what is our bespoke and integrated core curriculum, which is organized around stakeholder perspectives, not narrow functional disciplines. I'll get into what that means in a moment. And then you embark on a global network week as you wrap up year one and get ready to ramp up into year two, which is intensive study at one of our global network partner schools. Then you will kick into, after that 1 week final residency, you are doing electives and advanced management topics, some of which are required, some of which you will really have a lot of opportunities to pursue with abandon, really a number of different opportunities, choosing from courses across asset management, healthcare, sustainability topics, AI, thinking through operations or policy, leadership and the like. And of course, this all is wrapped up into the capstone course, which is known as the executive, which really takes all of your learnings and puts a finer point on those. And then, of course, our colloquium speaker series is a course that takes place over the 22-month period with a number of amazing opportunities for our esteemed faculty directors to draw upon their deep and impressive bench of peers in their network, experts in varying industries and sectors and spheres of influence that come in to speak with you through these engagements where they're really discussing challenges and opportunities that are unique to their work. And so there's a lot of interesting bits of wisdom that can be gleaned from those experiences too. And of course, our leadership development curriculum really enables you to advance your leadership goals. And, it's all very integrated with your studies over the 22 months. But in year two, you'll definitely advance into leadership practicum coursework where you'll practice delivering and receiving feedback and, accessing different professional coaching opportunities and learning skill to coach others as well, and taking courses such as designing and leading organizations and business ethics. For the next slide, I'd love to just pull out some more information about those organizational stakeholder perspectives. So as I said, these are not organized by disciplines. As you'll see here, you'll see some interesting course titles included that don't sound like your typical, marketing 101 sort of class. And that's by design. These courses are co-taught and they cover functions such as accounting, finance, operations, and strategy. And so just pulling out one example here, sourcing and managing funds. That's one such example where you have an opportunity to see those functional disciplines that are captured in that class, but these classes are based on raw cases that are being created within a case writing team on campus, really of the moment, ripped from the headline stuff that might be impacting your work right now and might also be something that you're reading about in your preferred newspaper of choice, right? So this is information that you need to know right now and is something that you are really digging through and sifting through in ways that, oftentimes it's very real world, very applicable. It's not a neat and tidy packet of information that is given to you where there are very clear answers because that's not business and that's not real life. And so I think that what our faculty are able to do is they're able to lean on their expertise and the expertise of their peers in the co-teaching framework and having this opportunity to show you how to really think about these complex challenges, how to sift through this information with your peers and utilizing the best of each of you and your learning team to determine the best way forward. And maybe there are several elegant solutions to this problem, right? And so I think that this is really wonderful foundational framework for what you eventually will build upon. And then we can certainly talk more about the global network week experiences. As you wrap up that first year, you get this opportunity to get out there in the world and show all of those learnings and some really great applied opportunities. Here are 4 premier examples of which you actually have upwards of 20, 24 different choices that you can make. And people will decide where they'd like to attend based on the areas of expertise of that particular institution. We are the founding member of the Global Network for Advanced Management, GNAM for short. And so that is actually a collective of 33 business schools split out across our world. And what you will find in those opportunities is a chance to satellite, get yourself over to that part of the world and you're learning on their campus. And then also having some interesting immersive opportunities and cultural opportunities, and also some fun. You'll see on the top left, our students are on safari, University of Cape Town, South Africa. Something not pictured here is shark diving, which has actually taken place in South Africa as well over the last couple of years, interestingly enough. Glad I missed that trip. That sounds really scary, but our students are thrill seekers, of course. Aside from being really bright and intelligent folks, they are always up for an exciting challenge and an exciting thrill. So they're a fun group to spend time with. And then there's just a lot of great opportunities to spend time. So at IMD Switzerland, the focus there is on digital business transformation and how AI is impacting industries around the world and how global companies are managing digital transformation, and also visiting the IOC. And then NUS Singapore, some of the learnings there include blockchain applications in France, and thinking through, in France, sorry, in finance, not in France, in Singapore. Fundamentals of digital assets and blockchain, is what's being covered in Singapore. And then also in Oxford, we have additional relationship with opportunities with Oxford as well. So our students can sometimes go there, have opportunities to go there more than once, to get some great content. This particular trip was based on real estate. There's so many different opportunities. We can't possibly list them all. Our website is very comprehensive. And then I can share a little more if you want to advance.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, I think I'm going to take on this one right here, Emily. But yeah, hopefully one of the chat questions came in about Global Network Week, but it is a wonderful opportunity for our students, and it allows them really to choose places that they want to go. And so you're not going to be going with everyone from Yale, but like just maybe a small subset of your classmates, and really building upon your network. So once you get back from Global Network Week in the second year, this is where you're going to get a chance really to kind of deepen your expertise and then customize your program around those courses that are of interest to you. So one part of the program is that you're going to be taking courses in advanced management, and these are required courses that everyone's going to be taking, things like business ethics, advanced negotiations, corporate finance, leadership. But then you'll also have the opportunity to take courses that really kind of are resonating with you. We'll have a very flexible pathway. There's 25 different electives. There is an option of, and this was kind of a tenet of our program for many years, where you could specialize in asset management, healthcare, or sustainability. You still can do that, or you can choose just to take courses in a variety of different electives that really meet the needs that you're seeing. And so a couple of these electives of the 25, things like risk, resilience, decision making, entrepreneurial finance, healthcare economics, if you're in the healthcare space, technology, innovation, strategy. We were able to sit in our year one's last class where they were presented a lot of these elective courses. Some of them are very new. Some of them are basically taken from our full-time program. They're the most popular and most interesting courses from that. And so our students definitely have a lot of choice. One nice thing is, because of the size of our cohort, there is no chance that you're not going to be able to get into an elective course that you want. All of our students are guaranteed to get into whatever class that they would want, as long as it works with the time frame that those courses are being offered. But then also, this is something that is very new. It's so new that I really just created this slide very recently, because everyone has been talking about AI. We've been on the phone with people, and people are really, really starting to, think about uh, how is this going to impact business? And this is something that the School of Management, this is across the School of Management, not just the Executive MBA program, but for all of our degree programs. And so these are things that have just been announced. There's some webs links that have just been put up that kind of talks about this. But one thing, all of our students, both full-time and executive MBA, are going to be starting out with a new foundational course called AI Foundations. You're going to be, basically practical applications of AI tools, building agents, structuring and utilizing large data sets, vibe coding business applications. I'm actually looking forward to like sitting and hopefully and auditing this class myself as well, because it's something that's really becoming a part and parcel of the program and how our students study and work. Also with the core. So some of those courses that Emily mentioned, things like the Innovator or the Workforce or State and Society, AI is being built into these courses across the board. So, in the Innovator, how do you utilize AI to turn your ideas into real ventures? Or in the Workforce, this is a human resource based type of course. How is this impacting managers, employers, workers? In State and Society, how can AI be used to deploy and create social good? I mean, this is something that again is part of our mission of educating leaders for business and society, excuse me. And so we want to make sure that our students have these tools. And then we have new electives. There's going to be a lot of new electives that are going to be offered as part of our program, as part of the full-time program. Things like generative AI for managers, strategy, innovation, and AI. All of these things are becoming, a lot of it's just announced recently, but we really do think that this is the next phase of how business will be done. And we wanted to make sure that our students are going to be ready to be those future business leaders that really can grasp how this new technology can be applied to real business problems in a way that really creates value. So this is something that's really coming up, very new to the program, but it's something our faculty have been working on very, very hard for a number of years to get to the point where you are right now. And that said, one other thing that we love to say is that Yale is yours. This is very unique to our program. You do have the ability to really engage with the entire university. You are not just an EMBA student. You are a student of Yale University. And so you have access to everything that the university has to offer. If you're an entrepreneur, Sci City, this is basically our entrepreneurial think tank. It's an opportunity where you can kind of engage with other students, full-time students, School of Medicine, law school, and you can think about ways that you can build your ideas, you can pitch your ideas. We had a student that came back recently as a colloquium speaker who had pitched her ideas for a new business model, and she actually won their pitch competition and was, starting to really engage with the entire network with faculty members. Maybe there's something that really interests you, like an independent research study. You have the ability to work with professors and do these independent research studies. We've had people that have published papers, published books with our professors, and so there's definitely things that you can do. The other thing is that you do have the ability to take elective courses from across the university. So maybe there's one of those AI electives that's being offered in our full-time program. If you can make it work and you can be there during the week when the class is being offered, then the professors will allow you to come into that. We've had people that have taken law school classes, people that have taken undergraduate classes just because that interests them. It's not part of your program, but it's something additional. Sometimes they're audited courses. Sometimes professors will ask you to take them for a grade so that you're making sure that you're doing the work. But you do have the ability to take classes from across Yale University. And then, as we mentioned with our global network, the Global Network for Advanced Management offers things called SNOCs, which these are small network online classes, which basically are that. They are small classes that are online, offered usually in the time zone. So if it's in Singapore, it might be in our morning and their evening, but you have the ability to be taking classes from all of these member universities, the 33 plus universities that are in the Global Network for Advanced Management. So I think now we've kind of talked about the program. It's early on. We've closed our application for last year. Our new application will be starting up in August. And so, Emily, I think this is great. Like, how do people get prepared for this program? How are they going to get ready to be an executive MBA student?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think, right here on this slide are some good questions you can start to ask yourself as you're thinking about preparing yourself for executive MBA education. So definitely crucial to think about the challenges ahead that you might have academically or that you can expect to have academically in this very rigorous program. For some, it's been many years since you've been in a classroom, having a lecture experience or being a classmate to others. So you're going to want to think a little bit more carefully about getting yourself sorted, making sure that you're in a good position to contribute meaningfully to this cohort. And so if on that earlier slide where we're kind of talking about who is thinking about this and aligning yourself to this opportunity, Definitely, if you are at that point in your life and career where you feel ready for that next step and ready to, formalize your learning, perhaps you've made some incredible progress and inroads without furthering your education for a number of years, but you're feeling like things are maybe stagnating a little bit. You're feeling like you're ready for that to take that leap. This is definitely where you would want to start. So really thinking about when did you last study with rigor? For some, because we have a number of students with other advanced degrees, as we saw in the class of 2027 slide there. Certainly a number of you will, but that's not necessarily a requirement of our program. But it might be that you need to think a little bit about the kinds of quantitative courses that you're going to be taking. You're going to be taking courses that deal with things like derivatives, valuation, probability and statistics. There's going to be a lot of case study reading in those raw cases because, as I said, it's not a nice, neat case. It's got a lot of information that you're going to need to draw context and meaning from. And then, of course, there is a steep learning curve. You're going to really need to think about how to manage that time and prepare yourself and think about the studying. And then also you're going to want to think about the fact that there are 15 to 20 hours of study that are happening outside of a class weekend in order to prepare for that upcoming class weekend. There will also be some testing that happens outside of the class weekend because, of course, when you're here, we really want you to have an opportunity to engage with your peers and learn new content. It's not necessarily going to be sitting and doing a 3-hour exam when you're here on a class weekend. So that will be happening in a more in a way that you are able to make decisions about when you start that test, but then you have to build in that 3-hour period of time to get it done. Then keeping updated on current events and changes in the market. What business media outlets are you currently reading? There might be some that are added to your short list of reading materials. And definitely getting your head around what's going on in current events, I think will help you in the long run as you're thinking about business education at Yale as well, and having, such intelligent conversations with your peers who probably have, advanced understanding of these specific areas. So being able to engage meaningfully there is going to benefit you a great deal. And really thinking about the time you're going to spend on campus. We do a really great job of making you aware of the many resources that are available to you as you prepare for this program. So thinking about what are the things you really want to tap into during the 22 months? Fortunately, it doesn't have to stop there. As an alumnus, you still have a lot of great access to the institution. And then also thinking through the support systems you have. So we'll be talking a little bit about stakeholder engagement too, but thinking through if you need, support perhaps, with different ways that you can farm out some of the things that you're responsible for, that can sometimes be a meaningful conversation to have with your loved ones and your peers and thinking about how you're going to make a little extra time to prepare for this. And next, talking about stakeholder approval. This is such a beautiful photo. This is actually from our recent commencement in May. One of our graduating students walking across the stage with his child. It's such a wonderful message to be able to share with your little ones if you've got them at home. We have a number of students who, as we've said, they're it's less about age and it's less about years, and it's kind of where you are in your life and your career in terms of making decisions. So we have students that really are across the life spectrum of big life events. So we have folks that have small children, we have folks who are caring for elderly parents, people who are leaders in their communities. Maybe you're a board member, maybe you're a deacon of your church. And so thinking through all of the different people that will be impacted by your decision to pursue business education. So stakeholder approval is not just employer approval, though we'll discuss that as well. That is part of our admissions process. But having a conversation with your spouse, or your partner, having a conversation with those on your work team, making sure that the balls that you're carrying, maybe you can ease up on some of those so that you can really prepare yourself fully for 22 months that will be really busy. It's going to stretch your calendar to the limit in some cases. Any one of our students will tell you that, but they'll also tell you that it was worth the adjustment, and definitely worth the effort figuring out how to make time. Something that we say is, you might not be up to date on the most recent cool drama or sci-fi thriller when you're in this 22-month program if you're doing it right. And so just making sure that you're thinking through your commitments, the people in your life, making sure everybody's on board. I've also heard many of our students and alums talk about having a family meeting as they're getting ready for school. And 9 times out of 10, even if you're feeling a little tentative about pursuing a business education, um, your kids are oftentimes your biggest cheerleaders, and they're really excited for you, and they're really proud to have mom or dad go to Yale. So I think that it can be a family affair, and it definitely is one that really touches every important stakeholder in your life. So definitely thinking that through and bring them along for the ride as much as you possibly can. We have a lot of opportunities that bring family and friends into the fold as well. So it's certainly all for the good and all for the gain. Here you'll see our application components and timeline laid out a little bit and lined up for you. So we're looking for a resume. Ideally, you've got something already workable on your desktop. Definitely gear it toward pursuing this program, and make sure that we have a good understanding of your impacts. We have great application tips. Um, we have
Sorry.
no, that's okay. We have great application tips webinars as well. So we really get into this stuff there. So I'll quickly go over these. But one
Ah,
thing, oh,
I'm not doing that. It keeps changing on me. So
oh no.
sorry about that.
No, that's
I'm not
okay.
touching anything.
No, no. I mean, this is if I don't know this stuff, then we're
I
really
know.
in. So yes, there will be some short essays that you'll be responsible for, TBD on those topics, where we every summer really, go through our application with a fine-tooth comb and really think through every piece of it and make sure it's telling us what we need to know about our candidates. There are some optional video questions. We really like that. They add a little bit of extra flavor and color to your application. And then a letter of recommendation. We only require one. We'll accept more than one if you think it would be beneficial to your candidacy to have more than one third party person talking about your impacts. And specifically, we want someone that's worked with you, and ideally your most recent supervisor, someone more in the know of your work function and your impact. So one that I really want to spend a minute on is the test requirement. So we will accept the GMAT or the GRE. We see them, but not with as much regularity as the executive assessment, which is what's there, the EA. So this is modeled after the GMAT. It's created by GMAC, but it is a pared down version that is really for executives considering, advanced management coursework and MBA opportunities. So this particular test is a 90-minute test. So it's not a huge drag on resources there. Doesn't take much time to sit down and take it. We do recommend, studying for it. I've heard anywhere from 15 to 30 hours based on the kind of work that you do day to day. Might require a little bit more effort on your end getting prepared for it. Got some wonderful resources. Keith does a session every year with the leadership of GMAC on that. So I highly recommend, keeping an eye out for that material. And what we're looking for on that exam is a 150 total score or better, a 10 or better on each of the three subsections, which are quantitative, verbal, and integrated reasoning. This sometimes will cause someone to kind of pump the brakes on thinking about pursuing an MBA with Yale, but I would like to help you perhaps reframe this thought around pursuing a standardized test for the program. Of the three options, to me, this is the lightest lift, but it is the most meaningful for us, because it is an opportunity for us to have a more recent data point, especially if it's been a long time since you've been in a classroom. Helps us to make sure that you're going to be comfortable and confident in a quantitative, rigorous executive MBA program. So it is, in our view, it's good for you to sit down and really study for something and prepare yourself. So it's twofold. It's how well do you perform on this? Of course, it is just one piece of the broader application material packet that you're going to provide to us. But it's not just how well you do, it's also your willingness to sit down, prepare for something, study for something, and do, reasonably well on it. Keith, I don't know if you have any other pieces.
Yeah, I would just say, we are one of the few executive MBA programs that re absolutely require this. We don't do waivers. As Emily was mentioning, it's a good metric, not only of like, for men. I took the test myself. I asked my team to take it as well. I have an MBA. I haven't done a lot of that calculation, those quantitative things in years, and it took me a little while to get myself back up to speed. The amount of time that you'll put into preparing for it is about what you'll put in for the class weekends. And so if you're struggling to find time to prep for the exam, you're really going to want to think very long and hard about doing this program, because if you're struggling for prepping for the exam, you will be struggling in the program as well. Like, you want to make sure that your life is set up, your employer approval is there, your family approval is there, so that you're going to be able to be successful.
Exactly right. And so beyond that piece, so we recommend, making that one of the things that maybe you tackle over this summer. Start to familiarize yourself with some of the materials. Think about how you prefer to study best. Some folks like to set their test date for about a month out, and then give themselves a little bit of a study plan. To prepare themselves, and working with having a date in mind is really helpful. And then it's out of the way and it's valid for 5 years. So even if you didn't apply in this upcoming cycle, which we do hope that you do, if this is resonating with you, you've got that done and dusted and it's settled.
And I
So
will say a funny story I had from a student that was trying to get prepared for it. He actually hired his daughter's SAT tutor to help him prep for the exam, and he said it was very helpful. So I thought that was a
there
very
you go.
creative way of helping himself get ready.
I
So
like that. Yeah,
yeah.
it's very cool. And then, of course, we're going to want transcripts from all colleges and universities you've attended for credit. Employer approval. It is what amounts to 60 plus days out of the office, with these periods of required time on campus with the residencies and the every other weekend cadence. So you're going to want to have that conversation. That person might also be doing one of your letters of recommendation. There will be an application fee, and everyone that is admitted will need to come in for an interview day. So you'll see the application dates roughed out there, for rounds 1, 2, and 3. So definitely keep those in mind as you're thinking this through.
Yeah, and I saw a couple questions. Like, we're almost done with this, and we'll get to your questions in a minute. But this is a question we get asked a lot. How do you finance your MBA? And I think it's really important. I think for many people that are based here in the United States, that that there's been some recent changes with the federal government, how the federal student loans work, and it caps the amount that you can borrow from the federal government at about $20,000. And with a tuition in the range of the $230,000 for the 2 years, which is, pretty much at a very similar range to many of our peer programs. That's a big lift, and we understand that. And so, people finance this through various different ways. Of course, out of pocket is one way, personal savings. Yale has a wonderful yellow ribbon program for our members of the U.S. military. Also, just to mention, the application fee is waived for members of the military as well, so either active duty or veterans. Scholarships, there are some external scholarships out there. Yale does provide a limited number of partial scholarships. But again, it's usually not life-changing money, so that you're going to want to start thinking very, very hard about how you're going to be able to pay for this. In addition to that, the cost of travel can be there as well. One thing that we do know as a university is that because the federal government loans have changed, Yale, as an entity for all of our programs, has worked with several vendors, several private loan banks, and they have offered us really very competitive rates for our students. And so we're talking to a lot of our students that are coming in right now about this. We have a financial aid department within the School of Management. But these private loans, as long as your credit is good, you can get loans that are even much better than I was looking at as I was preparing for my daughter to go to college as well. But no, they're specific to the Yale students, and we have worked with a number of private loan vendors to help finance this program. Of course, many employers will provide some funding. Larger employers sometimes have a very kind of strict human resources policy about how much they will provide based on your, years of service. But I've also heard from a lot of people that they start having this conversation with their employer about the time away from office, but you can also work this into the conversation of what they can do to support you financially. And so, for many people, it's of course some time that they can use to travel to campus or be here on Fridays during the normal work week. But also, people have used this to talk about how can their employer, provide some additional funding. We do have payment plans that are available, so you don't have to pay everything in one chunk. And we do have a number of fellowships, the Posen Commonwealth Fund Fellowship in Health Equity Leadership. This is for our members of our medical community, doctors and nurses. This is a fully funded fellowship. It is very competitive. If you are in the health equity space, and you are a clinician, please get in touch because I can provide some more information about that. We also have fellowships in radiology and emergency medicine and a few others as well. So definitely there are a variety of ways to pay for this. And what I did want to close on, and I think this is really, really important. I mean, this is probably one of the most frequently asked questions we hear after AI and how to pay for the program, but is what is that return on the investment? And so I think this is a really important question to ask. The answer is different for everybody, and it's different from people because it depends really about who you are, what you do, and where you are in your career, and really where you want to go. So, as I mentioned before, many of our students, they've really already achieved a significant level of success or expertise in their field. Many times it's in a technical area. If they're a surgeon or an engineer or what have you, they've done that. But they get to a point where they realize there's a gap. I'm missing some business skills. I'm missing leadership skills. I want I want to hone my strategic thinking. And so they find that these gaps are really they're keeping them from reaching that next level. For other people, it's a little different. Maybe they've been working for a large company and there's this idea that's been quietly percolating in the back of their mind. It's a business idea that they want to launch. And they realize that they need the tools, they need the knowledge. Sometimes they just need that confidence to take that first step in launching their own venture. For others, we have a lot of entrepreneurs in our program as well who already have built something real. It's going, it's growing, it's building, but they're thinking about how do I scale my business? How do I expand it? Sometimes it's I've already positioned it, I've been successful, and I want to position my business to be acquired or sold. And so they're thinking about those next steps. There's other people that really come for that network. They get to this point, and I've seen this as well in my own personal life. You get to a point in your life, in your career, where it can be difficult to meet people outside of your industry, outside of your geography, outside of your children's soccer or basketball teams in your local neighborhood. And you want to surround yourself with people that are ambitious, they're experienced. They come from various different backgrounds. I've heard from some people, there's wonderful schools all around the country, but maybe they're focused in a certain industry and they want to break out of that a little bit. They want to be surrounded by people that might think differently because these people can challenge your thinking, they can open new doors, and really, as Emily said before, and she brings this up a lot, they create their own personal board of advisors, people that they can lean on when they have questions, when they're thinking of taking those next steps, people that they know they can send a WhatsApp message to and will respond to immediately to really help them take those next steps. And so I think it's really important, and we'll kind of close with this. You want to be defining your personal ROI. What do you want to get out of this program? Because if you come in with a clear expectation of what success looks like for you, and you can define this before you begin, you're going to actually end up leaving with results because it's not a magic wand. It really does take a lot of hard work, personal reflection, and introspection to take those next steps. And so thinking about, those next steps, if you haven't already done so, submitting a pre-assessment. We will be starting up our on-campus information sessions when our classes start in August. And so those will be starting up in August, and we'll have them throughout the fall and from the winter. We're going to have a number of other virtual presentations. We're also going to start traveling around the country a little bit. So if you see an email saying we're going to be in your city, please try to schedule a time to meet us either for an individual meeting. Sometimes we do small breakfast, lunches, or dinners. If you have any questions, that is our email address. And really, I think that, again, we have a wonderful team that, Emily is as part of that. Also, Wendy is our dean, Liz and David and Christine. We also have a wonderful program team as well, and they help us kind of deliver that program every week. And so with that, I do want to leave some time for a little bit of questions. So we will turn that to the question and answers. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hopefully we'll be able to cover a couple of questions. So, Emily, do we have any questions?
Send them to the chat, folks.
Yes.
So I guess the first question that I guess, I'm sure others might share this one, so it would be a good one to cover is, speaking to the year two curriculum a little bit more, We didn't get to really pick out all of the examples right there. So sharing how people might engage with that curriculum, sort of how Jasmine Brown went about it. I've also had people saying, are there, other ways that you can specialize beyond asset management or healthcare or sustainability topics? So just wanted to start there. So if you'd like
Yeah.
to take that one.
And I think this is a great question, Emily. You wrote a really wonderful blog. Somebody asked, like, do you have any advice about discussing time off from your employer? And I think this is a great question because it's sometimes scary. I mean, you go in and say, hey, by the way, I need to take about, 40 or so plus 50 days off from work. So any advice that you have for that?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll do that one, and then if you want to get into a little bit more about, about the curricular content in year two, we can get
Yeah.
into it. But essentially, what I'll say is, what I say in that blog is thinking about this from a place of exactly as Keith said, your ROI is going to be there. So I think it's about having a conversation with your work team, and particularly your supervisor, the individual that is signing off on your time away. Having those conversations early and often, I know it's a little bit of a leap of faith. I know a lot of people struggle with the idea of laying their cards on the table with their employer and saying, hey, I want to do this before knowing if we've said yes to them. And so that can feel a little bit tricky, maybe a little bit, you know, a, a little bit anxiety invoking. But in my view, I see it from a place of you are showing your leadership potential. You are showing your work team that you're ready for more. You're showing that you want to take this time to think deeply about what comes next for you. So it's not just going to benefit you, it's going to benefit your organization. Because you're doing this in this executive format, you're having this amazing opportunity to take what you're learning and apply it in real time. So the benefit of this program, the ROI of this program is not after the 22 months. It's every class weekend. I hear anecdotes week after week after week from our students that say, I had no idea that I was going to be able to affect change in my organization or to really have such an executive presence in my workplace, really within days, weeks of being a part of this program. I'm impressing my boss. I am showing my capacity for increased leadership. People are really taking notice. People are seeing this change in me in real time. And I'm able to take my learnings that are happening in the classroom because the classroom is so dynamic because you are all working full time. That's the expectation of this program. You're really able to engage in such a meaningful and deep way. And then you're basically workshopping things with this trusted peer group, and then you're able to bring it polished off to your workplace to look really intelligent and really forward thinking and really bright. So, approaching this as something that you're doing not just for yourself, but for your organization's health and well-being, I think is really of value. And I think that the right employer is going to see the value of that. And it might even open up the conversation of, potential financial support. And there's a lot of people that work different types of negotiations. So it becomes a doorway through which you can see if there's a well-worn path, if others have done this within your organization. Seek those people out. Maybe they've got some tips and tricks for you in how they've managed those conversations. So that's something else I suggest. When you come and check us out on campus, our students, I'm sure, have those stories in their minds still of how they went about having those conversations with their workplace. So feel free to have those conversations with them. I'm sure they've got some great tips and tricks and how to go about having those conversations. But my advice is early and often and put yourself out there because really, at the end of the day, if you don't and you continue to put this on hold and wait to have that conversation, you're really only saying no to yourself. Let someone else say no to you, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And organizations can change. You can make a decision to maybe if they're not up for your professional development and growth, then maybe it's time to explore other opportunities because you want to be somewhere that's really going to value your continued growth and improvement.
Yeah, we're almost at time, but I do.
Yeah, I'm
There's a couple of
sorry.
questions that came in, and I think we can extend for a little bit. If you need to drop off, that's fine.
Yep.
But I do want to cover a couple of them. I think they're really important. One was, of course, about how we help our students navigate career uh, transitions. One was like literally basically like what happens if you go through a job change or a layoff, or basically what placement or career services are part of the program. These are really, really good questions. Yes, we definitely, unfortunately, have people sometimes that have a career change, either of their own choice or unfortunately not of their own choice, because of, mergers or layoffs or things like that. We have a career development office. We have a lot of resources that are available to students. I think also as people generate and build that network of their peers and of the alumni network, not just of the Executive MBA, but of the School of Management and of Yale University, which has 320, I think, 4 years of history. I mean, really can lean on that network. But I think one of my favorite quotes was from our career development officer. We get the question sometimes of, do we have career fairs where, recruiters come in and try to, pluck our students? Our full-time program does, because really those students are not working. They're in a full-time 2-year program, and they all need to have a job when they graduate. So, when they come in for these career fairs, it's really for people that are more entry level. And so she said that, there's no such thing as a CEO career fair where a number of companies are like standing in a gym and you go to the table and you're like, we need a CEO for Ford, or we need a CEO for this company. It just doesn't work that way.
Imagine that.
It would be nice, but so a lot of it's going to be a very like intentional approach, working with, again, the connection of professors and of colleagues and of students, doing things like reaching out to become members of boards, whether they're nonprofit boards, paid positions, unpaid positions. So you're gaining this leadership capability. You're getting yourself into positions where you can take those next steps. So yes, we do have resources that are available, but there's also a very, very, it's an intentional approach that you need to take as you start, thinking about those transitions. And we see this from our students. We see them, going through the process of making that. So I think that's really, really important. And then finally, there was one quick question about the EA. The scores that we ask people to target is about a 150 overall or higher. And there's 3 sections, so a 10 or higher on any of those 3 sections. And so I think with that, those are the two kind of questions. I wrapped them in together. I think that's good. I think any last minute thoughts, Emily, that we want to share with everybody here?
I hope that this has piqued your interest. I hope that you come out and check us out. There's a lot of great opportunities that Keith mentioned to see us either in your neck of the woods or to come out and see our beautiful campus and speak with our students. We have a student ambassadors program. They're very passionate about the program that they're pursuing. They're excited to share their insights with you. So don't hesitate to, be prepared to have those conversations that you might shy away from having with an admissions officer with them. They can be incredibly helpful. So all that to say, we hope we see you out and about. Application launches in August. So we'll hope to see yours, in the near term. But it's been a pleasure being here with you. And thanks, Keith, for co-hosting this with me. Just looking forward to what's next. Anything from
Yes.
you?
Nope. Thank you all very much. And again, please reach out emba.admissions@yale.edu. Always happy to answer your questions. And hopefully, again, we'll see some of you either on campus or where you live as well. So have a great rest of your day, everyone, wherever you are in the world.
Bye, y'all.